Well, first thing we're going to talk about is Chiropractic 101. Because a lot of people don't understand what chiropractic is to begin with. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the basic concept that your brain and your spinal cord controls everything in the body, and it does so because it's the central nervous system. So it's the most complex computer in the world, and it's designed to keep your heart beating, your lungs breathing, your muscles moving. Every single function in your body is controlled by that central nervous system. And so once we build off of that, we understand that it's a very, very important structure. And because it's so important, we have something called the vertebral column or spinal column. And the spinal column is designed to protect that very delicate and sensitive structure from getting harmed, because if it gets harmed, it literally will affect anything in our body depending on the area of the structure that's damaged. So we have these movable vertebrae, which allows us to move and function and get around in everyday life. But the problem with having movable vertebrae is they are susceptible to injury. So when we have accidents or injuries at some time in our life, they tear the connective tissue at the top of the spine, they misalign, and instead of protecting the actual central nervous system, they begin to affect it. Almost like an autoimmune disease, where the body attacks itself, only in this case it's the vertebra that actually attacks the spinal cord. So what we do as chiropractors is we correct these misalignments of the spine that interfere with the nervous system. These misalignments of the spine that affect the nervous system are called subluxation, and you may have heard of that term before. Well, what chiropractors do, at the core of what we do, is we correct subluxations of the spine. Not pain, we don't treat pain, we correct subluxations of the spine. Now, here comes the problem, is that if we go to a chiropractor 3 times a week, and every time we go we're adjusted, then when is it that we are ever subluxation free? So there becomes an incongruency between the philosophy that the innate intelligence of the body should be expressed through a properly functioning nervous system through an aligned spine, and the actual practical application of delivering an adjustment that stays in place. You see, if you're not holding an adjustment, then your body never heals. And if your body never heals, then why even begin? And if it's just another treatment for pain, then it's really no better than a painkiller or anything else that's out there, in my opinion. So chiropractic fundamentally is about treating the nervous system so that the innate intelligence of the body can express itself fully through a properly functioning nervous system that's uninhibited by the spinal column. Now, 95% of the adult population is out of alignment. What happens when this population is out of alignment is several things. One thing is their shoulders are unlevel. Their spine comes off of the vertical axis, which puts abnormal wear and tear movements into the body, which eventually leads to arthritis. The other thing that happens is one hip will be higher or lower than the other. One leg will be longer or shorter than the other. Their body begins to rotate and torque under the stresses of gravity. So in essence, we're not firing or functioning within our gravitational field appropriately. So we are basically a connector between the Earth's surface and the gravitational field, if you can imagine that. And when our structure is off-center, we're not a very good connector between gravity and the Earth's surface. And what happens is gravity begins to drive our body into the ground. And it doesn't just drive the joints into the ground, but it drives the nervous system and compresses the nervous system. And so what happens is we feel those gravitational stresses much more in a much more severe way, which in essence causes us to feel fatigued and worn out, and again affects the nervous system. 95%, as I said, are out of alignment. Now, a majority of those people do not know they're out of alignment. Only a very, very small percent, because they have not been educated. So people don't realize that they even have this. We call it the silent killer, because you can be subluxated for years and years and years and have no symptoms until it's too late. In fact, the deadliest diseases known to mankind have no symptoms till it's too late. High blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, cancer. So it should be no surprise that we can have another silent killer. Only this is one that many people don't know about, and that is called the subluxated spine. Now, many of you out there may be saying, well, that all sounds fine and dandy, Dr. Barone, but how do we know that this isn't just made up? Or how do we know that correcting these subluxations really affect the autonomic nervous system, and the nervous system, as you're talking about, allowing the innate intelligence to flow properly? Well, to that argument or question, I would turn you to the research that's been presented in the Journal of Hypertension, which is a medical research journal that is documented in cooperation with the University of Chicago in a double-blind study that an adjustment to the atlas vertebra, freeing up the nervous system, actually normalized blood pressure in a majority of the candidates in the study, and it lowered blood pressure by 14 points on average. Now, Dr. George Bacris of the University of Chicago was quoted as saying that this is equivalent to 2 hypertensive drugs. Okay, that's significant, folks, because that is an adjustment to the top vertebra just under the ear that you can't even feel. There's no twisting, there's no popping, and that was with 1 correction. Now, it's not that an adjustment lowers blood pressure, is that your body begins to normalize. In fact, we've got incoming calls from some sick people now that we're going to call back right after this show that also probably have high blood pressure. So here's the thing that you need to know, is there is scientific evidence, and a growing body of scientific evidence, that the nervous system does become inhibited. There's a growing scientific group of evidence that shows that chiropractic adjustments are affecting and correcting that nerve interference. And there's a growing body of scientific evidence that shows that when that occurs, that people's lifestyle and longevity and quality of life increases. And that is significant to you. Now, the last thing I would like to talk about is why you need lifetime upper cervical chiropractic care. Because many of you are out there and you're saying right now, well, I've heard once you start going to a chiropractor, you always have to go to a chiropractor. And this is an objection that I deal with on a regular daily basis, so I thought I would address it today. And first of all, I have to say that that's the most ludicrous statement that I've ever heard in my life. And most people are just propagating an idea or a comment that they heard someone else say that they've heard someone else say, and to that I say those people are like sheep. All right? And not to be rude, but it is. Because the reality is if you really think about it, there is no logical explanation of why else you would say that. Because why not use the same argument and say, well, Dr. Barone, I heard once you start exercising, you have to exercise the rest of your life. Or, well, Dr. Barone, I heard once you start breathing, you have to do that the rest of your life. Or, well, Dr. Barone, I heard once you start drinking water, you have to do that the rest of your life. Or, Dr. Barone, I heard once you start taking vitamins, you have to do it the rest of your life. See, no one will ever say that, right? So it's a misunderstanding. It's because people are mistaking wellness care with the allopathic model, which is a treatment for disease. But you see, all things that are wellness-oriented and that really get you healthy are things that you always want to maintain. And so, excuse me if I'm coming across harsh or firm, but you need to know that because it is very serious. The silent killer kills people, and 200,000 people die a year from properly and improperly prescribed medication. That is just one of the manifestations of being out of alignment and the effects it has on you and your family. So the best thing you can do, folks, is come in for a consultation. Let us evaluate you and see if you are one of the 95% of the adult population that we believe to be subluxated. Because if your autonomic nervous system is affected and you are not fighting within your gravitational field appropriately, then you are not living the life that you should be living. We're excited to take care of you. Barone Spinal Care and Performance is waiting for you. Give us a call, 847-619-7579, and that may be the call that changes your life or the life of your loved ones. Have a great day. We'll see you in the office.